Welcome to People Doing Good for Others, where we celebrate and praise and share those wonderful individuals who are truly making a difference in our communities. I'm Gary York, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. We want to thank our special sponsors, Wilkes Communications and River Street Productions and 100.9 WIFM, and thank you so much for being with us. A featured guest today are David and Karen Reynolds. They are professional actors and writers. David has been with Wilkes Community College, retired there for 30 years, and we're going to talk about Moonshine and Thunder, the life of Junior Johnson. And so, Karen, I think it'd be a good way for us to start. Just tell us, what are we going to be doing?
Okay. Well, the first thing is people who are interested in coming to see it is the Moonshine and Thunder is an outdoor drama, and we present that at the Forest Edge Amphitheater in Wilkesboro in Fort Hanby Park. And we, it is a multimedia. It's a little different from most outdoor dramas.
What does that mean?
Well, there are parts of the show are on a big screen, and then other parts are live. And you know, like you would see the actors on the stage. So sometimes you'll see a scene on screen, and then it blends into a scene on the stage, and then it goes back to another scene on the screen. We also have some footage from actual races, North Wilkesboro Speedway and from Daytona, that are shown when we have junior racing, and we can't obviously do the racing. But Call Family Distillers has been nice enough, which is Willie Clay Call and Junior Johnson have had a long friendship, and they supply cars and steels for us. And so you actually do see some vintage cars, and it's just a blend of comedy, of history, a little bit of somber scenes at times, but it is a multimedia event and a lot of fun.
And
so,
you're the writer.
Yes.
Now, when a writer starts to write, will you have an idea about this multimedia thing before you start, or how does it work?
I knew I wanted to do this, but I thought for a long time before I decided how I was going to do some of the things I needed to do to tell his story. And I went to Charlotte and saw a play, an on-stage play, and they had a multimedia play. And I realized you can incorporate film in with live theater, and it really helps you tell a story. It gives you an opportunity to go places you can't maybe go on stage. And so it just opened up a whole new idea for me. And then, of course, I talked with Junior Johnson, and he was nice enough to invite me to a breakfast to sit down with he and his friends, you know, longtime moonshine buddies and racing fans that have been with him all of his life since he was a young boy. And so we just took those stories and actual facts, and I put those into a play. David
Reynolds, tell us about an actor. What's a professional actor? I've always wanted someone to answer this question. Just an overview of a person who's an actor.
Okay, as a child of two teachers, way back when, my mother did a lot of church music and wedding and funeral music. So I've been around performing all my life.
Okay.
And I've been in the classroom most of my life. Most of my work has been theater in the classroom. First official play when I was probably 7 in the backyard. And parents were the ones invited in for that. But we have been fortunate enough. We have worked with some people, I guess professional means, okay, you're getting some check to take home with you. We've done some of that. We've done some small film work. A little more difficult than most people would imagine.
I'll bet.
Oh, I'm supposed to say something. I wonder what I'm supposed to say. Oh, okay. They're written words, and you try to honor the playwright or the film creator as much as you can. But
well, that's a nice word, honor the writer. Wow, okay.
They're the ones that gave you that opportunity. They created this essence.
Wow.
And you're trying to further enhance that. But if you're doing a play, you might do it 3 or 4 or 200 or 300 times. and you try to create as much of that each night as you can. But on film, you might try something a dozen times, and they like the second time you did it best. So that's what goes down in history on the film. But it's different
Okay,
on stage and in film.
all right.
It keeps you on your toes.
The name Moonlight and Thunder, tell us as the writer, how did you settle on that?
I tried to think of what people would relate to Junior Johnson's history the most, the words that they might, and of course moonshine always comes up.
Sure.
And then thunder, I always think, when I think of that whole era, and I also think of the racing and the NASCAR that came after, I think of thunder, because you hear Thunder Road.
Thunder Road.
And so I just said,
yes.
okay, this says it all for me. So Moonshine and Thunder, the Junior Johnson story, is
Junior
what
Johnson
came out
story.
of that for me.
Wow. Blue Moon Productions, we need to get a good grasp on that, if you will.
Okay. We were, several of us got together, friends that had been involved in theater for a long time, and we decided we wanted to create an organization that, a 501c3, that would concentrate primarily, community theater does a lot of different things, and we do a few extra shows a year, but we wanted to concentrate primarily on bringing, having shows with history, our county's history, that would bring people in to Wilkes County and support our tourism groups. And so, and I think we've been pretty effective with that. And I know when we've talked to the chamber, the number one things that they ask about, people ask when they call and ask about our area are Moonshine and Junior Johnson and Tom Dooley and racing.
Yes.
And so, those are the things that both this show and Tom Dooley, Wilkes County Legend, which is our other outdoor drama, that's what we deal with.
Did you say you have a board?
Yes, we
okay.
do. We have a board and just various community members, that
Okay.
get together and give us input and help us plan. And
Wow.
maybe some of the things our artistic folks might not.
Do you have
come up
children involved in?
All ages.
All ages.
All ages. I have a little grandson that he's 3.5, and I think we have a part in the show that tells about Junior's
Oh,
younger
my.
brother Dwight, who dies unexpectedly, and I'm gonna use a little 3.5-year-old there to do that. We needed a little one that
Knox.
could be. Knox is gonna
All right.
be carried in to the hospital. So, all he has to do is moan. So we're going to cross our fingers.
David Reynolds, tell us about the park, the Fort Hamby, and how do we get there, and the seats, some of those things.
Fort Hamby Park, basically 5 miles if you leave the Lowe's Hardware in Wilkesboro in the direction of Boone. It's basically 5-mile drive. You see the signs just as you pass Holbrook Motel and Wilkes Food Mart. You turn left, it's about a mile down that road or a little over, but this beautiful 800-seat amphitheater is on the side of the lake near the Ann and Laura picnic shelters. So you can go there, picnic before the production, and enjoy one of the very comfortable 800 seats.
800
800
seats.
seats with part of it is a covered stage, but part of it is a sandy area in front of the stage where a lot of the acting and the automobiles take place. So, and it is outdoors, and the weather is a factor at times. So if anything dangerous to the audience or the actors, electrical begins to happen, we would pause the play for a time and then maybe pick back up and go on. We've done that a couple of times in one evening before. But if all is canceled, then you get a rain check for the next production or next performance.
Now, we talked about the talent pool locally. Is it time to talk about that? And
Sure.
Let's do that, the cast and how that works in a community outdoor drama.
Yeah, well, it's really nice to use your community members because it's particularly telling historical things, because it gives an authenticity, I think, that you can't get from bringing
I like
someone
that word.
from. Yeah, it really does, and we've got a lot of good old boys, and they tell the Moonshine and Thunder and Tom Dooley when we do that. It's just it rings true, and people tell us that's a word I hear a lot. You know, this just felt so authentic. And so, and it is, you know, and these people, a lot of them are actually related to some of these characters, you know, descendants of, and so
Oh,
they
my.
have a rich history already themselves when they come to the show and get involved, so.
The Corps of Engineers is a vital part of this,
Yes.
this entity. Let's talk about Kevin Heap and maybe some others that were there before.
Mhm.
How did that come about?
Well, when I first wrote Tom Dooley, we did the play on stage at Benton Hall with our friends from Wilkes Playmakers. And then several years after that run, you know, had gone on, I think Tom Dooley was getting to be tough for a small community theater to handle, you know, because they have other shows and it consumes so much of their time. And the Lake came to us and said, we would really like to make this into an outdoor drama. And we're building an amphitheater. And
Wow.
we would like for you to be a partner in that, and we'd like to offer you that space to use for Tom Dooley. And of course, that partnership has been, it really enhanced what we were doing. And then once we approached them about Moonshine and Thunder, they were happy for us to do another outdoor drama there as well. So we have two, and right now we're alternating because it is tough to put on the bigger shows like this. But, you know, we're hoping we'll get to a
Now
point
you're
we can do
alternating
both.
Tom Dooley and
We are
Moonshine and
we
Thunder?
are in the we have in the last year or so,
Okay.
but we are hoping that sometime we'll have enough to be able to do both.
Okay.
So,
that's at Kerr Scott, right on
Yes.
the lake,
mhm.
and it's a mile off of 421. You
Right.
said, and it's 5 miles from Lowe's up there.
Approximately, yes, sir.
And it's South Recreation Road,
Yeah.
the Fort Hammond.
Now, are you
Park is
doing the practicing now? That's not what you call
We
a play.
start on August 29th. We do an intense 2 weeks, and then the show opens on September the 14th and runs, you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for 3 weekends.
And then you go the next weekend, which would be
Yes.
the 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
Yes,
And then we go the next weekend, the
Mhm.
28th, 29th, and 30th.
that's right.
And you start, and tell us a little bit about, does it have an intermission? You said you have concessions. Just talk about
it
the
runs-
layout there.
There's no intermission in this show. It runs for an hour and a half, so you're out by 9 o'clock. And we do have concessions. There is a show or a DVD that we have been allowed to use from the Wilkes Heritage Museum called Moonshine to Racing. We're very appreciative to be allowed
So
to use
you work with
that.
Jennifer Furr too in
Little
these
bit,
relationships.
Yes, and so I mean, it takes a village.
Wow.
And mentioning that, can I say that we have in this village that helps us, we have some really, really strong sponsors. And is it okay if I
It
mention
is,
those?
it is.
We have,
That's a vital part of why we're
Okay.
here.
Well, the law offices of Timothy Wilburn, and of course Wilkes Communications, we couldn't do it without them, and the NC Arts Council, Infusion Points, and last but not least, the Call Family Distillers. And you know, for some of our more adult audience members, you could always go to a tasting at a real moonshine tasting and then
Yes.
come see the show.
Yes.
So, you know, just if you want to, and you could even drop by the Heritage Museum and, you know, see their displays on racing. So we have a lot to offer here in the county. We really do.
We have done some performances at the Heritage Museum.
Yes.
Have we?
We
Mhm.
have.
Wow.
A Christmas Story a couple of years, and The Foreigner and other productions.
Let's talk about the outdoor drama, and you belong to an institute. You also, there are 15, and just kind of an overview about that particular entertainment segment of our state, if you will.
The Institute of Outdoor Drama is a huge support to the outdoor dramas, not just in North Carolina, but all across the United States. And I think they help us, advise us on, administrative planning, and even help younger folks that are trying to start an outdoor drama. They will assist them in helping them to do that. They go and spot check and visit all the outdoor dramas in the United States, and we're lucky they're housed here in Greenville, North Carolina, but there are about 15 outdoor dramas in North Carolina currently. They're all across the United States, and when people travel, that is something that a lot of folks will look for, the outdoor dramas in the areas they're coming through, because most of them are historical, and you learn things about the area you're in that you normally would not. There's a lot of stories in Moonshine and Thunder. We talk about the moon. I didn't realize that the Moonshiners, of course, they had that strong Scotch-Irish heritage, and so making liquor was nothing but normal for them. And then it was illegal, and in Wilkes County, there were not a lot of jobs available, and they were going to jail back and forth, and women were raising their children by themselves in the 40s. It was pretty tough. And then, gosh, Holly Farms came along, and suddenly those moonshine families had jobs. And if you look at at those moonshine family names, those folks are now growing. They're poultry growers. They went to Holly Farms for jobs, and then Holly Farms, with those folks that they had such strong ties with, also became very strong supporters of NASCAR. So it's all very, it's really tied in together.
Yeah, it's a progression.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. They outran the revenuers, and then they were outrunning each other on the dirt tracks that used to be cow pastures, and then suddenly they had jobs. Not if they weren't driving, then they were poultry growers.
Karen and David Reynolds are just wonderful attributes, wonderful assets for us, and I'm just honored that you'd be here today and just lifting. I'm getting a great education today, things that I just would never know. So we talked about this evolution, and you said it starts with a bagpipe.
Yes.
The essence of that.
I started the show with a bagpipe player, and he actually walks down through the aisle of because you really want the audience drawn into that, the feeling, the culture, the mountain culture. And then I have a moonshiner and a revenuer that come out to start the show, and they talk about what they believe in. And the
values that they have, their heritage.
Yes, they do. And at the end, the revenuer says, I do believe in right and wrong, and I believe, and he goes into things, and he says, and I'll be, I will be watching for you. And he says, that's fine if you can catch me. And so that's what starts the show. So, but I didn't want to start the show without setting the tone for folks who have no idea.
Oh, Karen.
So, yeah.
How long did it take you to write Moonshine and Thunder?
About 3 months. I think, it's very different from writing a book, which could take a year or two, depending on how much time you have. But when you're writing dialogue and you're just sitting there saying, what would these people say to each other? It just sort of gets a hold of you. And David could speak to what happens.
David, you're a
when
cast
that happens.
member,
He's
too.
affected by
Make sure
it.
we don't forget about you being a part of the cast.
I believe I'm playing Sam McCabe, who was one of the revenuers. And I understand at one point in the 50s, probably, there may have been 200 to 300 agents stationed in our basic area.
Wow.
And they were trying to confine 200 or 300 or more stills in the area. So it was quite a happening event. But Sam Cabe, who again was trying to catch them, did some of the probably more prolific work in the area. and actually caught Junior
Mhm.
at some point, but not on the road, I believe.
And Joe Carter, that was another, he was right there
Joe,
with
Joe
me, yeah.
Carter, yeah.
Did you do a lot of investigations or interviews with people or seeking folks to learn some things about what you eventually put in the play?
I did a lot of reading. I've talked to family members. Then like the breakfast I had with the Moonshiners. You know, they were tough to talk to for a while. They have their little group, and they don't talk outside of it. They have more in the last few years, but for a long time they didn't talk as much. And Junior convinced them to talk to me. And so they were invited to breakfast in his garage. He has a big garage that he would have breakfast for his friends every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down and sat with them and had one of the best breakfasts I've ever had in my life, and let them tell stories. And I wrote just as fast as I could. And I think something that really pleased Junior Johnson, when he came to see the show, he just said, you know, this is what I would want, because my friends are mentioned in this. The people that were with me from start to finish, you know, they don't always get very much credit for being there and being a part of this history. And he said, I'm just so happy that my friends were a part of this. And of course, since we started this in 2006, those friends are gone.
Yes.
Junior is the only one. You know, I went to
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
He's the only one left.
We just loved Willie Clay Call, and he was such a character. And I went to the funeral home when he passed away, and Junior was standing there, and he says, I'm the only one left. You know, so we captured something that I'm so grateful we were able to do that before they were gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
And also, I want to go back to Tom Dooley as another incredible success for you. Tell us about that writing, if you will.
That is another one that took, one of the things David didn't say, but I was trying to get him to say, he's had to suffer through, when I do finally get inspired to write something, it's about three or 4 months, and I can't stop thinking about it. So, you know, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll get up, and when it's really quiet, and start typing. And he, you know,
Talk some more about that.
it's just,
So you get inspired, you have like writer's block forever sometimes?
well, you can. You know, if you sit down and say, I'm going to create something today, and, you know, that usually doesn't happen. You have to wait till the idea comes. And Tom Dooley was something that I was inspired to do. I felt really excited about it. In fact, I talked to someone one time about going to a writer's retreat, and I said, I don't know if you'd want me up there, because I write at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. And he said, you can look at the lights all around this little camp, and at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, the lights are on in these little cabins, because that's when most writers write. And I didn't realize
know that.
But, you know, it's when you get something on your mind, and I guess if you relax enough, when you go to sleep for a little while and you wake up, it's all there. And if you don't write it down or keep a notepad by your bed, you'll lose it. So.
Karen and David Reynolds, what an inspiration to have you with us here today. Go back to your calling, or that this is the person I am. I'm a writer. Will you do that?
I think it was just natural for me. My grandmother, Wheeling, was a retired English teacher. And in fact, I wrote the entire Tom Dooley script and had to go back when I realized I didn't have the word ain't in there, because I was never allowed to say it. And so I had to go,
Oh
and
my goodness.
most people go back and clean something up, but I had to go back and mess it up.
That's charming.
So, you know, it was just something, but she read to me so much, and you know, reading, and her front porch was a stage, and my grandfather taught me recitations. And so when I was 5 years old,
Recitations.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So I quoted Longfellow when I was a kid, because that's what.
The proper training.
Right. Well, they just were determined. They sat out in their lawn chairs, and I was an only child, and they taught me little things, and they called them recitations. And you know, and it was just,
How
it was
precious.
just part of my life.
How precious. Tell us about your career at Wilkes Community. We're big Wilkes Community College fans here.
Wilkes Community College.
Please.
We had a associate in fine arts degree in drama for a number of years. And a lot of our students have gone on to be teachers. Others have worked in administrative aspects with different theaters. We've had some folks on Broadway. We've had some folks performing in Las Vegas. So we're pretty proud of
Wow.
the folks that have come here. I came into the work there with Bud Mays, who began the drama program, and a great talent. And enjoyed working with Bud for a number of years. But,
Thank you.
A great facility in the Thompson Hall Theater.
Yes.
And then the Walker Center has
Oh,
come
wow.
along. So two of the finest spaces you could.
1,100 seats, I
Mhm.
think, in
1,100.
the Walker Center.
And in Thompson Hall, it's now 201, but a great intimate space. It doesn't get much better than that. Four-year universities sometimes do not have something like that. And I feel very fortunate to have been part of all that for a number of years.
Right.
But
Thank you. Karen, let's make sure we thank our sponsors again. I want you to do that again.
Okay, I really would like to do that, and thank you. The law offices of Timothy Welburn
Mhm.
have been our season sponsor. That is our season sponsor, and then also Wilkes Communications, and the NC Arts Council, Infusion Points, and the Call Family Distillers. So it takes your community being involved to make something successful, and I feel very fortunate, and I know Blue Moon Productions certainly, we all feel very blessed and fortunate that we've had that.
And we want to go back and make sure we mention that this will feature on the 14th, 15th, 16th of September, and then the 21st, is it?
21st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Okay, and then the 28th, 9th, and 30th?
Yes.
Right.
At 7:30.
At Fort Hamby Park, 5 miles up from Lowe's.
Mhm.
Are there other meaningful things that we really need to make sure we touch and make sure that we got our sponsors? I want to go back and do this. I want you to highlight again the Junior Johnson breakfast and the authenticity that you said that's the real essence of what we're doing. We do that.
Absolutely. The breakfast was just wonderful because I was able to pick up things that were important to not just Junior Johnson, but to his friends, and the stories that they cherish. And we certainly go into the history, but we also take time to tell the stories, the funny things that happened, that you could tell when they talked. There was such a bond. There was such a friendship there, and I know the story of Junior Johnson losing his small brother, Dwight, was another thing that was very important, that he was not forgotten.
And the honor of having you here is just such an uplifting spirit, and Wilkes Communications brings us here, and the River Street Productions and 100.9 WIFM close with this segment of your life, the outdoor drama and the incredible contributions you're making as a couple to this area.
Oh gosh, I guess for me, I'm not really doing it because I feel like I'm doing some great, I just love history, and I just love telling stories.
You love to write.
And I love to write.
And you love to bring people together.
And bring people together, and if people enjoy that and find that to be entertainment, then that's just icing on the cake for me, you know. But there's a lot of starving artists. There's a lot of starving writers out there. And so, you know, they do it because they love it. We certainly don't do it because it makes us rich.
And
Only
your
a few
actors
get
that
to
get
do that.
opportunities. So we have Karen and David Reynolds and What an honor to have you, and I hope you'll come again.
Well, thank you so much for having
Thank
us,
you.
and thanks
And
to
thank Linda Cheek for bringing us
Right,
together.
and Wilkes Telecommunications for bringing us
Yeah.
here too.
And it's all about me.
Okay, thank you very much.